I'm also tend to be a little scrappier, so I would do things like door hangers, and I would either just do it myself and I'd just go, or I'd send a runner, a college kid or somebody.
I used to send my kids. I would drive in my truck, and my kids would be on each side. They were like little. Nobody turned the kids away.
Yeah, who's gonna say? Yeah, exactly.
Spencer Powell of Builder Funnel is in the house. Y'all need to get, he's over there. I'm looking at this camera. He's looking at that camera. We have a third camera there. Okay. We're just trying shit.
Why not?
You live local here in Colorado Springs, so I said, get your butt in here. How you doing, man?
Good. And I like the new pad.
It's coming along. Yeah. It's coming along. Let's just get this out of the way. Yeah. There's a bunch of keyboard warriors that are going to bitch about the fact that I just painted over fire tape here.
Look at that. Yeah.
I've already gotten some hate mail from it. We were laughing about it before. Yeah. You're a painting contractor and you allowed that? And it, guys, it's a warehouse. It is a warehouse, upper level of a warehouse. It's a temporary spot, and I don't care. I don't care. So there you go. Save your your criticism. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to take the bait on that right now. I just got that out of the way. That one's really kind of bugging me though. But anyway, it does bother me to a degree, but it didn't bother me enough.
Yeah.
Because I hate doing finished drywall work, and we had a deadline. And do you know how hard it is to find a fucking contractor to call you back? So, dude,
how hard is it, Tom?
It is. Let me tell you. I actually had a couple guys. There's a guy I think up in where was it? I can't remember. Utah or something. He's like, I'll come over there and I'll do it for free if you coach me. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, I got to move shit now and cover things, and then there's a mess, and there you go. But whatever. Who is Spencer?
That's a good question.
Who are you?
Yeah.
What do we got?
Just a dude, just another guy. I guess fell into marketing, close to 14 years ago.
Yep.
Got out of school, just was fascinated by the idea that you could use social media for business. And that was kind of when it was a new concept, right? Because Facebook had come out when I was in college. It was just for college students. So that was like my era.
Yeah.
And then I think when I got out, it was public, but then there were those Facebook business pages popping up. And I was like, I wonder if a business could use social media.
Yeah.
So that's really what started my journey. But yeah, fast forward to today, we got about 26 full-time. We only work with residential construction companies.
Yep.
And we start with strategy, and we can help you execute if you want, or we can give you the strategy and you can go execute internally.
Right. Didn't you help your dad's company? Isn't that part of the story?
Yeah. So two different companies, actually. So one side of the coin, my family out in Seattle had a long time construction business. So I think it was my great-grandfather. He would basically build homes, and then he would take the cash from those, and then he'd build an apartment building. And then he'd go build more homes, and then he'd go build another apartment building. And so he did that, and then my grandfather got involved, and they just kind of kept that cycle going.
Wow.
Then my dad and uncles got involved. And so at one point, they had a property management business. Underneath that, several apartment buildings, couple retirement communities. They had the custom home division, remodeling division, handyman division. And so I got involved really scaling up the custom home and remodeling divisions. And so I think there were about 2 million at the time. I said, hey, let me do your Facebook, your Twitter, your blogs. Like, let me figure this out. That was kind of where I started to get interested in that. And then over the next 4 years, we went to 10 million.
Wow.
And we were I was starting to like beg people to let me help them, because nobody thought at the time, I just don't think somebody goes to Google and then does a $300,000 remodel,
Right.
And I was like, they do, I promise they do. But everyone just thought, no, I think that's mostly word of mouth. I think people, so it was slow going for a long time, because it was those high ticket projects, and remodelers just didn't think that digital marketing would work. But that was really where I got started.
Well, there were a lot of guys that for 15 years, 20 years didn't even have a website. They're like, why do you need one of those, right? So because I think I found you when I moved to the Springs in 2015. I end up online and something that you had, I don't remember the site, might have been your
That's the other business. Yeah. So
is that the direct mail you
direct
were doing
mail,
or
yeah.
something? And I saw that somehow you were like a Marcus Sheridan fan with creating content, inbound marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And Marcus is a good buddy of mine, and for years he's spoken at our events and things like that. And he might be coming back to Mile High this year to do something different. So anyway,
cool.
And so I just remember seeing like, all right, this guy's in that world, and I think I drove over there.
Mm-hmm.
I think
did.
I just drive over?
Yeah,
and I'm like,
I remember.
hey.
I remember where we sat. Yeah.
I don't even remember what I said or what I'm like, I don't even know. Do you remember? I don't remember.
I'll tell you what I remember. It's not a lot, but yeah. So kind of to morph into that other business and then tie it into where you walked in the door. Basically, when I was helping my uncles, my dad had already moved out of that business and bought his father-in-law's direct mail business. So that's why we moved from Seattle to Colorado Springs. Right. It was called the Mailroom Incorporated. And then he basically came back from a direct mail conference and they're like, hey, direct mail is going off a cliff. You need to get into digital.
Yeah.
So he came back, he rebranded within 30 days and said, we're figuring out this digital. He saw what I was doing. He's like, do you want to just come figure that out over here instead of doing your own thing? Yeah. So I said, sure, that sounds great, because I never was interested in direct mail.
Right.
And so that's where we started. And so we started serving. And so we had the TMR Direct brand.
TMR, that's what it was called.
Yes, which was the mailroom, super creative. And then we created Builder Funnel as a division within that company because we realized that, first of all the direct mail customers didn't think we knew digital.
Right.
So I started to learn a lot about brand then too, because they had only done direct mail with the Mailroom Inc. for years and years and years. And then we said, oh, we can help you with your email and your landing pages and tie it into direct mail. Mm-hmm. I don't know. So we had to go after a totally new market into digital. And that's why we went down custom homes, remodeling, residential construction. So anyway, we started doing that. We were probably creating a lot of content, see the brand. And then you walked in. You're like, hey, I've got this, coaching group and I'm teaching contractors and I'm trying to get more exposure online, or, I think you were just sharing what you were doing. And I think at the time it was like, that sounds cool, but we are helping the guys that you're helping. So I didn't know that we had the confidence that it wasn't in our niche. It was in the same industry, but we weren't helping coaches and groups also find, more contractors. So that's what I remember.
And I was maybe a year into the podcast at that point. And I think we had a YouTube channel, but we didn't really put anything up, because it wasn't until like the end of 2016 that my son Dakota was like, Dad, I'll be your video guy. He was the first video guy. And those videos are comical, because neither one of us knew what we were doing, but he got me going.
And I had some ugly ones too.
And he, it's funny, a lot of those early videos, he just did the best he knew with editing, and it popped, and so it's just funny. And then we kept in touch. Man, I hear so many good things about you. I know you were at Mile High last year, and I've talked to a few people that have just reached out to me, and they've been like, this guy knows his shit. And I know you know your shit. And what I love about you when it comes to marketing, I think the DNA we share is we play the long game with it.
Yeah.
And so I got a few talking points here.
Sweet.
The first is, how do you define the following? You can do them in any order: marketing, brand, and advertising. Let's start with that.
Marketing, brand, and advertising. Well, let's start with brand.
Okay.
I'm not a branding expert. I'll preface it with that. But everything that I've come to experience and learn about brand is recognition and association. So like those two things. So kind of like I said with the Mailroom Incorporated, and then my dad rebranded to TMR Direct, which was like, we're a integrated solution, like marketing solutions, which was digital and direct mail. That was the purpose of the rebrand. But all of those customers of the Mailroom Incorporated didn't see us as that new thing because they associated, even though we said we're TMR Direct, they still associated us with what they knew, which was direct mail. So they saw us the same. So if you think about that, a lot of times contractors, remodelers, they think about rebranding and they go, oh, we need to rebrand.
Yeah.
But really what they're saying is we need to start the process of people associating us as something new. But we think it's instantaneous.
Yeah.
It's not. I think it can be a little more instantaneous for new people coming in. Like a lot of remodelers, they go from, ABC remodeling to ABC design build.
Right.
That's a very common one. They want to move to that design build. And when you go from remodeling to design build, anyone that's new and they only see design build, great, they're going to associate maybe something a little bit different. But all that past branding you did, that's where the heavy lifting is really going to come in. And that's why you see companies like Nike or Apple make these very small changes to logos and all that over long periods of time, like years or decades. Exactly. Go look at it. It's fascinating. You look at the Apple stuff. A lot of times it says Apple. And then over time, the wording gets removed because they get big enough that they can do that. But so branding is recognition, but also that association piece of like when they see that, what do they think of you as?
So that's where I was going. So brand to you is more what they think of us. When they see my name, my company, our logo, whatever, there's a thought.
Yes.
Now, a lot of guys, their customers don't think anything, right? I mean, you can not have
your brand is just some dude.
Your brand is some guy.
Some company that helped me. Yeah.
And brand is not just a logo. That's an identity. I think a lot of people think. Now, and I can see the confusion. I think, because like the word brand back in the day was like branding a cow. This is the Reber Ranch cow.
Yep.
And so.
But why did that matter? It was probably what they knew about Reber and his ranch and what that means if it's your cow. Yeah. Right. So it's like the meaning behind the logo or the brand is the signal, but that means something. And so it's that connection.
Better not steal that cow. That Reber guy will kill your ass.
Exactly.
Right.
If they associate with that,
here's the Jones Ranch. Oh, they never do anything when we steal their cows. Right.
Totally. So and those would be the brands.
That's the story. That's the brand. All right. So what's next? Marketing or advertising? How do you find that?
Gosh, let's go advertising.
Okay.
So now you have the brand. Now we need more people to know the brand.
Okay.
So now we're going to advertise. So
like the tactical things.
That could be, okay, we think that if we put an ad on Facebook and spend $5,000 and more people see our ad, okay, now we've got more visibility. So more people know or have seen our brand and our logo or our ad or our trucks. We have those branded now. They're driving around. More people see that. So now just more people know.
More people know.
And obviously advertising can be a lot of different things. TV, radio, podcasts, YouTube, like all of those things. But it's basically like, how do we have more people see our brand?
There you go. And marketing.
And then marketing, I would say, is how do we take that step further from advertising to actually getting somebody to engage or like, fill out a form, generate a lead. How do we move it from just, I've seen your truck to I called or I visit your website and I sign up for a newsletter. I take some sort of action off the advertising.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go there now. I'm gonna go there later.
But I almost see, marketing and advertising, I feel like are very similar when you think it feels like there's overlap depending on how you want to define it, because you could call marketing putting your logo on your truck and doing a podcast. And, so if we wanted to really try to divide those three, I would say, the marketing piece, like let's start trying to get into lead gen a little bit.
There you go. Cool. So you work with all these remodelers, construction companies, builders, this and that. There are people right now at the time of this recording that don't have any leads. How come?
They're probably not marketing.
I mean,
or
I know that's a
advertising.
super open-ended question,
Yeah.
but like you see this, you hear this all the time. I'm sure you get DMs and emails from people like, I mean, I one of our groups the other day, there was this guy who posted, I started my business 3 years ago and I haven't had a lead in 9 weeks.
Ooh, yikes.
You know?
Yeah.
So like, how does somebody get to the point where they don't have leads?
Yeah. Yeah, well, let's break it down, I guess. So my first thought is if you don't have leads, you're probably doing no marketing, advertising, or very little. Because if you're not doing any, then that means your only form of lead gen is going to be probably word of mouth, referral, past customers coming back. And so if you don't have a big enough pool there, or you don't do a good enough job that people are just raving about you all the time, then that lead flow is going to be not as predictable and it's just going to be lower, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I have 50 past clients over the last 3 years. You know, they maybe tell, you know, half of them maybe have told one person, but like the flow of that is going to be really slow.
Right.
So I would say you either don't have marketing and advertising going on, so it's just coming from that. And so you're experiencing just like very low predictability and low volume. The next bucket would be you are marketing and advertising of some sort, but you're not doing enough of it, or you're not doing the right things.
Yeah.
It can really only fall into one of those two buckets. And so if you're listening to this now and you know, well, I'm spending $10,000 a year on marketing, there's a good chance that's probably not enough. If you're like, I'm spending $100,000 on marketing, but I haven't had a lead in 9 weeks, I'd be like, what are you spending on? It's probably the wrong
I just had a
things.
conversation with somebody who spent well over 6 figures last year in marketing and it didn't do shit.
Ouch.
Yeah. And this is not this is somebody who's like knows what they're doing across building brand like crazy. If I told you who it was, okay, you'd be surprised. And so, and I recently had a conversation like, dude, this is blowing my mind that you invested that much. And it wasn't just like he spent $100,000 on the golf cart ads, right?
Yeah,
You know,
one big campaign or something. Yeah.
I mean, it was creating content. There was SEO. There were all these different things going on. So could it also be a location someone's in? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Is it a, because I hear, or is it, I wasn't going to bring this up till later, but like, is it that the messages that are going on aren't speaking to the ideal buyer? Like, is, you know, what's that? Because there are some people that are pretty aggressive and they don't have the results.
Yeah. Well, let's use this example. We don't have to say who it is if you don't mind, but they spent well over 6 figures and you said they were doing a bunch of different things. It wasn't just like one little like branding campaign. It was like SEO, maybe some paid ads or
let's say the 50% of it was SEO.
Okay.
And they are not like an emergency services like HVAC. They're, you know, in
bigger projects,
bigger project remodeling,
wants based, not needs based.
Wants based. There you go.
And they didn't get any leads at all, or they didn't get any sales.
They got very few leads, and the leads they got were shit. Like truly.
Yeah, not good.
And this is a company that educates through content.
Yeah.
They talk pricing. Like, dude, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
So,
not knowing much else, the first places that I would kind of dig into are where those channels were going. So SEO, you typically think of, okay, if it's a want space, it's probably like kitchen remodels, additions, you know, stuff like that. Were they actually addressing the right keywords and pain points and then areas?
Yep.
You mentioned area, and I only say that as it pertains to SEO. If you try to rank for kitchen remodeling, but you ignore locale and you are in Colorado Springs, Colorado, you are now trying to rank against the entire country. And so if you're not targeting kitchen remodeling in Colorado Springs, you might have actually moved up from an SEO perspective from page 20 all the way to page 4.
Yeah.
But page 4 gets you 0 views.
Right.
So you might have actually made progress, but then it wouldn't result
page 2
in
is where businesses go to die, right?
Yeah, exactly. So and 4, they're really dead. Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of ever clicked beyond page 1 on search results.
Yeah.
So
And
Unless
if you
I was
have,
looking
you
for my
definitely haven't
shit.
gotten to page 3. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, why
Where
am I
am
on
I?
page 7? Yeah.
Where am I? So,
But it generally it's the right location,
mhm.
and then if you're targeting the right people in the right spot, then messaging would be the next, because you're
Yeah.
saying like, hey, I'm in front of the right people. I'm advertising in front of the right audience, but whatever I'm saying is not resonating with them.
Yeah.
And for wants-based things, there is going to be a little bit longer of that time horizon, right? Somebody thinking about that kitchen might think about it for a year. And so I don't want to go too far, because I'm going to start talking about the whole funnel. But
right, but that's where this long game stuff comes in, right? Like it's and this guy's not panicking or anything. Like, he gets it, but it's frustrating because, you know, you invest a lot. And I've been there as well. I mean, I created content here for the fight for probably 3 years before anyone ever gave a shit.
I get it.
I know you get it. And we've had this conversation. So it could be a lot of things. You're not speaking to the right person. You're in the wrong channels. One of the questions I get all the time is, how do I know where my ideal clients are hanging out? Right? Online or whatever. And it's not just online. There's other places they hang out. So how do you answer that?
Yeah.
You know?
I guess I would start with, I mean, easy example is, you know, let's start with the ideal client. So here in Colorado Springs, there's like a high-end neighborhood called the Broadmoor.
Right.
Right. So if you do those higher end projects and you go, oh, okay, my clients make north of 200 or north of 250 or whatever it is. They live in a house worth at least $1 million, between 1 and 4, whatever the parameters are. You go, well, what are those neighborhoods in my town? You know, that's the easiest way to start. Is like, what are the zip codes, right? There's probably like,
where do the people
1,
with
2,
money
3,
live?
4. Yeah.
Right. Just start with that.
Yeah. And if high end isn't your market, and you're like, I kind of hit the middle market, there are zip codes for that. Oh, I kind of serve the low end of the market. There are zip codes for that. Like, you know the zip codes in your town. And the middle is going to have way more zip codes. So then I go, well, if you could choose, which you can choose your marketing, maybe choose the middle end zip codes that are close to your location, so you don't have to drive as far. You know, so we can get into that. But let's use the high end, right? So okay, at the Broadmoor, there's like 10,000 homes in the Broadmoor. Like, do we think we could build a nice business on 10,000 homes?
Probably,
especially if it's high end. You know, kitchen remodels, kitchen plus, whole first floor additions. Like, we're probably looking at $200,000 to $500,000 for a project size.
And how many you really need a year, right? Like,
exactly. Yeah, you need 30 projects. You can build a $7.5 million business.
By the way, guys, listen to this. What he's about to say is gold. Pay attention to this part. Seriously, I know, because I know you enough to know where you're going, but like, you don't need everybody. Right? You don't need all 10,000. Yeah, I mean, what's 10% of 10,000 is 1,000, right? Did I get that right?
Yeah, and multiply that by 100,000 as an average project size.
Yeah, but even if you got 5%, that'd be 500 people. If 500 people in the Broadmoor knew about my painting company, right?
Yeah.
And 300 called me out of the 10,000, you know, based on how you play the long game, create content, and help your clients, you're going to be closing most of those deals before you ever go out there.
100%.
So I say all that to say, pay attention. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
So, all right.
But I mean, where you were going is exactly what it is, because you're just trying to narrow your pool. Because I think a lot of times we think I have no customers, or I need way more customers. And so you think, oh, I'll just go broad.
Yeah.
But you could just burn money on that. So again, I think about 100K, like you could blow 100K easy.
Right.
And going too broad. But if you spend $100,000 saying, I've got 10,000 homes that I want to know about me, or even 5,000 or 1,000 of those, I'm going to hit those 1,000 of those homes every month with direct mail. And I'm going to, in terms of my targeting online, I'm going to target Google ads, those zip codes, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, those zip codes. And I'm just going to only focus.
I'm going to whole ass these homes this year.
And the best part about that is something that really clicked with me recently is I think a lot of this industry prides themselves on referrals and growing their business on referrals. I love referrals. They're often the best type of customer, and they close at the highest rate because they already have trust built in. You know, vouch for this company. And so I say, great, I trust Tom, Tom trusts them, I trust them.
Yeah.
It's just there. With marketing, we have no trust. We have to build it. And that's part of what we build over time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, your company evolves. And so if you used to do $2,000 painting projects, and now you do $20,000 painting projects, if you're still getting referrals from a certain type of customer you started with, referrals start to really hurt your business because they're all referring you $2,000 projects, similar types of homes, similar types of projects.
Right.
Maybe you don't do interior and now you've shifted to exterior, but you keep getting referred this. Marketing can allow you to choose to target this. And if these projects are in the Broadmoor area and these 10,000 homes, you start to market there and you get a customer, 2 customers, 5. Now they start referring you to their friends in their area. And now the referrals start to work for you again. And then you may evolve again. So marketing gives you more control.
Yeah.
Referrals are great.
Yeah.
But again, depending on the evolution of your business, they actually might be weighing you down.
That's a great point, because the other thing is when you are in the Broadmoor neighborhood and your truck is sitting out front, and by God, I hope you have it wrapped. Okay. Now everyone that lives there, you're there for a week or how many days you're there. Every time somebody drives by, walks their dog, they're just seeing it, even if they're not looking for it. And then next month you're in the neighborhood again, and it compounds. That happened with us in our painting business outside of Chicago. There were a couple neighborhoods like that where, if we did 300 jobs a year on average, 75 were in this one neighborhood.
Yeah, amazing. And
Yeah.
they're probably your better jobs.
Right. They were just slam dunks. So
and you're like, what if we could just double those and do half the jobs, but in our perfect wheelhouse?
All right. So you're a young business owner, say you're a remodeler, I don't care what you do. All right. Really have done no marketing. You've got word of mouth going. You're listening to this. You have a neighborhood like the Broadmoor. What's the first thing you do personally?
Personally, yeah. If it were me, I would start digital because you can start faster and cheaper probably than if I were to say I want to blanket this with direct mail or something like that. I am also tend to be a little scrappier, so I would do things like door hangers, and I would either just do it myself and I'd just go, or I'd send a runner, a college kid or somebody to go do that.
I used to send my kids.
So,
I would drive in my truck, and my kids would be on each side. They were like little. Nobody turned the kids away.
Yeah, who's going to say? Yeah, exactly. And sometimes I think we forget about those kind of things, right? Because we do, as an owner, want to put ourselves in those, what are those $1,000 activities, $10,000 an hour activities. But honestly, if you need customers, that's your highest priority. And if you don't have money, you have time. So you go use the time.
So you'd start with digital.
But what part of digital? Yeah. I would make sure I had a really good site.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is kind of any channel you use, they're going to get back to the site. Right. Even if I meet somebody at a party, like, hey, I've started up this brand new business. You give them a business card, or you just tell them, go check out my site. Yeah. Where are you going to direct them, right? They all go to the site. That becomes the foundation of everything.
And this is such a it depends question. I understand that. I will see people bitch and gripe about, I've never spent $10,000, $15,000 on a website, right? And those people, I would even challenge whether they're serious about growing their business, right? But how do you know? Do you have a rule of thumb of what somebody should spend? Is it based on their average job size, right? Because if my average job size is $50,000, somebody said to me years ago that if you're trying to sell, because all the contractors are like, I'm high end, right? Everyone's high end.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say you're truly high end. You're doing great work. Your paint job is immaculate. Your landscaping's awesome, and it's a $50,000 or more type project. Now you're in the category of a BMW or a Mercedes, so your website should kind of look like that.
Has to.
Do you know what I'm saying? Do you have a rule of thumb for what somebody should spend on a website? And how do you
I don't
determine
know
it?
if I do, but
Yeah.
I will give you how I think about it. I mean, if I'm literally starting my business, I'm probably not going to spend 15 grand on my website. Now, for context, my agency, we sell websites and they probably mostly land between 15 and 30.
Right.
But if I'm just starting my business, I probably wouldn't advise that person to build that one out of the gates if they have limited resources, really limited dollars, because those dollars need to go into a lot of places. I would say go spin up a WordPress site on Fiverr or some other site. That's not going to be your end all be all site.
Right.
But what you said is still possible. What we need to have happen is we need the site to be up and we need high-end photography.
Yeah.
The
Spend the money on
photography
that.
has to match the projects you do, right?
What if I don't have pictures of the work I've done?
It's tough.
It's
It's really tough. I mean, you can go use stock
for a time period,
and you can just say, hey, this is an inspiration gallery. And you want to be truthful about it. But you at least need to show somebody what the type of work you do. And so even if you have an inspiration gallery and it's like, these are the types of projects we do, these are the types of kitchens. You don't have to say we did these kitchens, but you have to say these are the types of projects we
and
do.
Be honest about it. Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
You just have to.
Yeah.
But that's what matters the most, I would say, at the very beginning, because then I would want more of those dollars to go into ads and driving traffic too. Because if you burn 15 on the site, but then you have no dollars for ads, nobody's going to see it. And so I would much prefer they do the site right. They have SEO baked in, they have conversion baked in. Like that's a lot of the stuff that comes with a high performance, higher end site.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, you want a site that matches the types of projects and the people you serve. And if you can get that done for $500 or $1,000 and it gets you off the ground and then you can spend 14 grand on ads,
right.
I'd rather do that at the beginning.
Our first website, my painting company years ago, was not a very nice website. It was a white screen with the logo and, it had contact us. I mean, it was like, this is like early 2000s.
We're in business.
Yeah. And a lot of bad things happen after 10 p.m. at night when you're a business owner and you're online. And one of those bad things that happened is I started running Google ads on my own.
Nice. I'm sure it went perfect.
And I dropped like $4,500 in like 2 weeks. Had no leads, no sales, nothing to show for it. And a buddy of mine, he goes, dude, you were driving traffic to the ghetto. I'll never forget that. And so the opposite of what you're saying, right? Like a lot of people are spending money on ads and SEO and whatever they are, and they're driving people to the wrong neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then there's other people who, like you just said, you could spend 15, 20, 30 grand on a site, but if you're not doing anything to drive people to the right neighborhood, so both can be true if you're not succeeding online. So,
and to your point, it depends, right? Yeah. But if you're at the beginning, I'd rather get the site good enough that it matches, and then most of those dollars need to go in driving. Yeah.
So, God, I have all these things that
Let's
I want to get into, man.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about some of your clients. I have a question that I'll ask after this one about your clients. What are some of the things that if you've been working with people for a long time, and if you're anything like what we do in the fight, every now and then it's not everybody, but every now and then there's like a handful of people that just have a crazy result and it blows your mind. Like what comes to mind when I share that?
Yeah.
For you and the people you've helped. What are some of those?
Company down in Atlanta, they were spending north of $2,000 a month on Google ads. It's not a crazy amount, but that was their predominant digital strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Their SEO was in the gutter, and they were about $2.5 million at the time, and they really wanted to grow SEO. And so we started going after certain terms. We started creating blog content, building out some of their core website pages, some project spotlight pages, trying to rank for some of these.
Mm-hmm.
that worked really well in terms of moving them up in the rankings. I think part of the reason they had like extra, results was it was a big market. And I think we beat people in the SEO game before the remodeling industry caught on in a big way. And then all of a sudden that city surged. There was tons of projects going on. And boom, we were right there at the top for a lot of those things.
You were there for the land grab before everybody else.
Yeah, I think that was part of it. But the other thing that was the duality to that was when we first stumbled into our best lead conversion campaign. It's still our best one. I think this was 6 or 7 years ago at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the cost guide. And we did that first there, and it converted so many leads. And then that became one of our anchor pieces. That's like the first thing we recommend with any of our new clients, and we install that. But I think it was kind of that combination. But the funny thing, as you asked that question, the funny thing I was thinking about was we're marketers. Mm-hmm. And so we can increase that throughput on the front end.
Yeah.
But you have to have a good operator on the back end that can scale that team. They went from 2.5 to 7.5, almost 8 million over, I think 5 or 6 years or so.
Okay.
A lot of people can't do that. Even just
right,
on a
like
delivery.
What's your capacity? Right.
Like
what's your production capacity? And
do
you have the processes in place? So kudos to them. Kudos to you. A few people, their ears just perked up when you said the secret weapon was the cost guide, right?
Yeah,
what the heck is the cost guide?
Yeah, it's really, I'll just give it to you. Here's the answer. It really, before I talk about what the cost guide is, I guess I'll just say, think about the new buying process. Mm-hmm. The new buying process is the customers are in control.
Yeah.
The customer has access to infinite information, typing away.
Yeah.
The old process was, I got to go into a Best Buy, I got to talk to a sales guy, and he'll tell me about these 3 TVs and what the different options are and how much they cost. Today, we just go online, we get the information. Mm-hmm. It's the same everywhere. You can get the information somewhere, even if the information is wrong, right? And so with cost, we started looking at this. We're like, what's the first thing someone wants to know with a remodel? What's it going to cost, right? Yeah. With any project, painting, landscape, what's it going to cost? What's it going to cost? And they don't need to know it's going to be $47,000, $47,250 and 18 cents, right? They want to know, am I even in the ballpark of what I want to get done and what I can afford? Ranges are fine. All we did was we just said, okay, well, let's suck people in through what they're already searching for. How much does a kitchen remodel cost in Atlanta? Great, let's write a blog post on that. Cool, now we're pulling in traffic. Well, somebody that was researching that probably wants more cost information. Let's just create a little cost guide that talks about averages of baths, kitchens, additions, and basements. Yeah. Here's why you might be on the low end of this range from 100 to 250K. Here's why you might be in the middle. Here's how you might be on the high end. Square footage, are we moving walls? Is it high end finishes? Is it low end? All the stuff that you know as a company, and that's the stuff that actually goes into cost.
Yeah.
Consumers don't know what you know up in your head. Yeah. So we just said, let's just pull it out, put it into a guide, and give them some ranges. Mm-hmm. Because then if I have a company in Atlanta that doesn't want to touch anything under 100, my cost guide is going to talk about projects from 100 to 500.
And so the wrong people are going to opt out and not waste your time. They're going to go waste somebody else's time.
That was kind of the hidden benefit that we didn't see coming, but absolutely. Yeah, people download it and they go, I was hoping to get this done for 20 grand. I'm not even calling this company. Amazing.
That's actually a good thing.
Yeah.
So, because here's the thing, man. What I love about this is, and I did a video not too long ago. It was one of my rants where I was talking about where do your prospects actually get their budgets from? And sadly, they get them from Angie's List and Home Advisor and all these other third-party lead gen sites where some stupid college intern who doesn't know anything about the trade is writing articles and coming up with all these averages, and then it's misleading the client. I mean, I can hop on right now and type, how much does kitchen remodeling cost in Colorado Springs? And well, you live here, so, and you're probably helping somebody here, so this might be skewed a little, but normally when I do that, no local contractors show up in those organic searches. It's all these other third-party sites.
Still open season. Yeah.
Okay, so we're in agreement on that. So guys, this is low-hanging fruit. I'm looking at the camera right now. This is low-hanging fruit for your business, is just start answering these questions, what things cost. Those are leads for you. And then what happens from there is, based on who you want to work with. But like, that is easily, I'm blown away. Or it'll be like a local business will have an article on it. You go to the article and they don't answer the question.
Yeah.
And they go, contact our sales team because all projects are different. Nothing wants.
Detracts,
I will back button and not call you.
Yep.
Because you just wasted my time because you didn't give what was promised on the ad or the blog title. Right?
Yeah.
Blog's still working?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the cost guide, that totally exploded this Atlanta company. All right.
Yep.
Any others that have kind of blown your mind?
Yeah. I guess let's build on that, because if people are listening to this, I feel like I don't want there to be gaps. I want them to take this. So let's go back to the website that we were talking about. And you have, let's just say, instead of a new site, you actually have a site and you're getting pretty good traction on it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're getting several thousand visits a month to your website, but you feel like you're not getting enough leads.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's been a few examples that come to mind, but we've done this with several people where they're actually like, wow, you're spending a lot on Google ads, and your SEO is like, okay, you're ranking for something. So you do have 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 visits a month. But you go to the site and it's just contact us is the only option.
Right.
And so if we go back to the cost guide, we've come in and literally just looked at a company and gone, we need to get a conversion offer up quick, and something that's at the top of the funnel. Cost guide, could be a process checklist. I'm honestly just going to say cost guide. It's the best one. So if you don't have one, just do the cost guide.
Yeah.
But we'll come in and you place that button, download the cost guide. Obviously you want to have a compelling color, have a compelling title on that button, but it literally just says, ever wondered what it would cost? Click here to find out. And it takes it to a landing page. Mm-hmm. If you place that button on the 10 most trafficked pages on the website, leads just, it's literally an overnight thing, because if you're getting, let's just say, 500 visits a day, that's easier. And if you're getting one conversion, you're probably now going to get 2, 3, 4, 5 conversions, because only 4% of the people that hit your site are ready to start a project today.
Exactly.
The other 96%, they're browsing and they're future buyers. And so they want that cost guide. They want a little more information while they're on the site. They want to make progress in their research.
Yep.
But now you've converted the lead. So there's several clients where we've just come in and we're like, great, you have lots of traffic, because building traffic is hard. Converting is a lot easier.
Well, that data you just gave, the 4%.
Yeah.
Do you know who Callan Rush is? You ever heard her name?
Mm-mm.
So I went to this internet marketing conference like in 2012 or 13 in Chicago. And she got up, she was the first person I heard talk about that you have 100 of your ideal clients right now. And she was 3%. 3 are actively looking. So 3 or 4, whatever.
Yeah, right in that range.
And the bottom 30%, 30 out of the 100, will never hire you no matter what, for whatever reason. So when you take out the 3 and the 30, there's 67% of those people, roughly, give or take a percent, that are just in a different place.
Yes.
So like for us right now, we have a home in a subdivision here in Colorado Springs. We are looking for land. We are looking to build. We're open to a lot of different things right now because we don't want to be there forever. We stayed here longer than we wanted to because we had kids to get through high school and whatever, right? So, and it was just more convenient. So if I land on somebody's home builder's website right now and I don't fill something out or buy right now, it doesn't mean I'm not a good lead.
Exactly.
Okay, and that's what I think a lot of people don't understand, is that people buy when they're ready, not when we're ready. So when you get that cost guide, right, you're getting their email and now you can nurture them. How would you go about nurturing somebody that would download a cost guide? What would that look like?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest thing you can do is email and just call it an email newsletter, call it an email program. You can do email automation. Like those are all the just but it's literally, hey, you filled out a form. I understand you may not want to talk to me today on the phone or about your project, but I would like to brand myself, stay in front of you until you are ready. And let's just pretend we know it's you. And let's just say in 9 months, you're going to buy.
Yeah.
Great. What are we doing in that 9 months to make sure that in 9 months, you actually come back to me and call me? Right. So I'm going to send you emails and they're going to be value driven. If we were to just boil it all down, that's what it is. And what is value driven? It's more education on how to find land, what to consider when you're evaluating different lots, how to think through, the floor plan or, cost per square foot or all of the things, right? All the questions. Let's just do that. And you can do that through blogs, through video.
Or like you talked earlier that you had like case studies, right? You could send a case study. Here's Joe and Mary and they were blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And what you want in your marketing, what I've always believed, is when somebody sees your thing, direct mail piece, ad, whatever you want to call it, video, they should immediately go, hey, that's for me, or hey, that's not for me.
Yeah.
Like that's the best outcome at that point. So if I'm seeing, we're in our 50s, right? If I see, here's Joe and Mary, they're in their late 50s and they were looking for land, that's going to catch my interest right away and I'm going to read the thing. Right? And if I'm not in that life situation, I'm probably not going to give a shit. So you're given a class right now on how to basically market your business, right? For the long haul.
Yes.
And what a lot of guys don't understand is they're in agreement. They're like, this is great. I get this, but that's going to generate a lead and a sale 9 to 12 to 36 months down the road. I need a lead today. And what I truly believe, because I've experienced this, is the more consistent you are doing the things that you're talking about, the faster you will get to having leads today. Like if you, I don't know what you guys do, but like if you put up an article or a blog a week, right, on your website, you're educating people, you're doing this, a year from now, you're going to have a lead today and tomorrow and the next day, because the time's going to pass anyway. What are you going to do with it? Because I really believe in the trades, unless you're like HVAC, plumbing, emergency type shit, right? There are very few get leads today type things that you can do.
Yeah.
Unless it's just calling your past customers for 8 hours and you land one.
Yeah. Or you can spend more on Google Ads with bottom of the funnel terms. Right. Yeah. Yep. I mean, if you're a landscaper, you can go to Google and just say, I want to pay for keywords, landscaping services, Colorado Springs, or landscaping company, Colorado. And you go, okay, if somebody's typing in that particular phrase, they're probably trying to find a company, right? Versus if they're asking how much does it cost to redesign my backyard?
They're in research mode.
They're in research mode. And so that's another helpful lens to think through is like content wise, it's a great opportunity to pull in all those like top of the funnel research mode keywords because you're going to pull people in and then they can read and learn about it. But if somebody's really at the buying stage, chances are they've already been to your website and some other sites. But if they're just like, I got to find somebody today and I've done no research, but they want to buy pretty soon, in the next week or two, then Google Ads targeting the right type of keywords, you can increase that bottom of the funnel. Okay. But I agree with you that if you start today on the content and the nurturing, one lead today turns into 10, 20, 30, 40, 6 months from now, a year from now. And some of those ones from the past start to hit the bottom. And so that bottom just starts to fill because you've built the top and then you've nurtured. And so it starts to expand.
Well, I know you were even sharing before, I think we hit record today, that like you've been at this for 14 years and you've been eating your own cooking, right? Building your own business, creating content, adding value, nurturing. And it wasn't until about year 10-ish that it really took off. I mean, you were growing and stuff, it was good, but like there was that tipping point in some ways, and I've experienced that too. And the way I've always, what we're talking about with the content and the nurturing is like bamboo. It grows under the ground, right, for 4 years, and then in the 5th year, you see no evidence of anything and for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And then in the 5th year, within like 6 or 8 weeks, it shoots up like 70, 80 feet. Like that, to me, that's how this shit works.
I agree.
But
and You know what else
What?
I think grows like bamboo?
What's that? You?
Right?
Yeah.
Think
Yeah.
about who you were a
God,
decade
man, that's
ago.
good, man. That we got to clip that.
Right?
Yeah.
But as you were saying that, because
Mhm.
I'm a big believer in the marketing is that long term, right?
Mhm.
But if I would have experienced the type of growth we've had the last 3 years in the first 3, I wasn't ready for it. I
No.
couldn't have handled it.
No,
We would have
I wouldn't either.
exploded, right? And
Yep.
so you're also building those skills. And so if
Mhm.
you're building your skills as a leader, if you're building your skills as a business person,
A
and
communicator.
yeah,
Like,
and you're building
yeah.
the marketing, like
I love
I
that.
don't know, you maybe you're experiencing the same thing we are, but I feel
Yeah.
like they're connecting at the right time, and I'm glad because again, if we would have, I did the whole Excel sheet in the first 2 years. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, we'll be doing this.
Mhm.
If we would have done that, I would have just.
It's
flopped.
funny you bring that up because I was having a conversation with my wife the other day that there's certain things that are happening now and opportunities that are coming and this and that had they come earlier, I wasn't ready.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
I'm in agree. I had a crew leader who say I'm in agree.
Yeah.
He would also say, Tom, I probably think that we need to anyway.
Nice.
So all right. What are overall in the macro with your clients? What are the most successful ones doing or not doing? What comes to mind?
The most successful ones are consistent. I'm going to start with that.
Yeah.
Because as you said, it's kind of like the bamboo thing. And if you kind of stunt the watering of that,
Mm-hmm.
you never, it's like, it's all happening underground, but then it all stops underground. And then you start it again, but you never actually get through. So I'll say consistency. But then honestly, after that, it's strategy. It's the ones that will take the time to plan up front before just reacting and being like, I listened to Spencer. He said Google ads and I could just pay for a bunch of, but like, if you haven't thought through the strategy, then you haven't thought through, okay, what's that zip code? Like we talked about earlier, who am I targeting? What are the projects I actually want to attract? How would I attract them? And then if I thought, okay, if this is my neighborhood, these are my projects. I only want to do kitchens in the Broadmoor. Great. Okay, like that's a strategy. Now the tactics are going to be, well, my website should show a lot of kitchens in the Broadmoor area. And if I don't have them all, I'm going to start with what I got.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll look at Google ads and say, I'm going to target those 2 zip codes over there in the Broadmoor. And I'm only going to target this set of keywords that's related to kitchens. And then on my content side, I'm going to hit all those questions that I get in the sales process that are about kitchens and process. And so those are all the tactical things that flow by, right? We talked about the cost guide and we talked about blogs and paid and email and nurturing. Like those are just things, but you can do those things at scale and at the wrong audience and to the wrong people. And so when I think about that 100K guy that was like,
then you're pissing your money away.
I think there was probably a good chunk of that going on.
Yeah.
I don't know because I don't know the situation, but if you start with strategy and really think through that, then I think you can actually flub tactically in a few areas, but still make pretty good progress.
I love that. Would you name your company the Broadmoor Kitchen Company?
If that was who I was targeting, yes.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I would.
Like,
yes, that's part
or
of it.
say I started a painting company again tomorrow and I wanted to just paint in Broadmoor, it'd be the Broadmoor Interior Painting Company. If I just wanted to do interiors in Broadmoor.
I would.
What happens 10 years from now if Broadmoor is not what it was?
Then you're going to have to pivot your strategy.
Okay, then you just rebrand again,
you will.
right?
Yeah, and it will be a big decision.
Right.
It won't be something you'll take lightly, but if you think through it and go, okay, I can see the decline of the Broadmoor is happening. So as you're paying attention, you're watching that, and then you go, wow, this one is rising. We might actually have to rebrand, and then you would think about that rebrand, and then you would be communicating to all those past customers in a very specific way, but outward facing, you'd be on your website and all your marketing would start to shift towards this. But then with everyone else, you'd say, hey, we did rebrand. That's only because, we have grown such great relationships here and we've been able to serve so many people. We're now excited to also serve some other parts of town. And so we felt like this name wasn't speaking to that.
Sure.
And you'd come up with a message,
Yeah,
right, to
yeah.
go to those people so that you could retain some of those repeat projects. But yeah, I mean, you could, like we talked about earlier, you could build a really nice, healthy business in just one or two very high-end
So you would
neighborhoods.
because I've had people ask me this. It's usually not in the context with naming a business. It's in, I'm a fan of niche.
Yeah.
Have a niche, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Builder funnel.
builder funnel. Okay, show off.
But that's why we did it.
Right.
It wasn't just,
Right.
it was a strategy.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is there'll be like a general contractor in the area, and they go, we do everything, right? And I go, okay, well, we get in the math and the data, and we go, where's that? What do you call where the three circles meet?
Oh yeah, the Venn diagram.
Venn? Is that a
Yeah.
Venn? I
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
think so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I failed every class in school that taught
Doesn't
that, so
matter.
it doesn't
It's
matter.
not proof of success.
So the guy who does it all, and then we'll look at that Venn diagram or whatever the hell we call it, right?
Yeah.
And I go, what's the intersection of what do you really love to do? What do you kick ass at? What's the most profitable, right? And then say it's kitchens and baths, right? And anytime you do something different, you're out of your groove. And there's a lot of reasons I think a niche is good, even if you're building homes or whatever you are, right? And I usually tell people, like, whatever focus you have on your messaging, whatever money you're spending on marketing should be for that thing. The other leads are still going to come, right? And with those, you can cherry pick them. You can, and over time you'll get less and less of those. But a lot of people are like, how do I make that transition? Whether I change my company name or I'm niching down. I mean, you have another perspective on that, of how somebody can make that shift, and what do they do with the houses not in Broadmoor that call?
Yeah. I agree with you. I think it's more of a company strategy question first. And what you're guiding them through in that process is correct. Let me back up.
Yeah. What am I missing?
I think, so let's just pretend you go through the Venn diagram and you find out it's kitchens and baths, but they also do additions and they build some homes and they do some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, kitchens and baths, we love them, we're fast at them, we make the most money, whatever those three, I forget your circles, but why wouldn't you then go all in on that?
Mm-hmm.
It's usually fear that you will lose the other things.
Right.
And so my question would be, how committed are you to those things in the middle of the Venn diagram? Because, and I can say this because I did it.
You did it.
When we went from TMR Direct to then creating Builder Funnel as a brand, prior to that, I had worked with my uncles, a couple of his roundtable members. We built up some builder, remodeler clients.
Right.
But then we had a software company. We had a few other clients that we were serving because it was all it was a digital division of TMR Direct, right? We were just helping you with digital. But what we recognized is we said, gosh, we are going to be nobody. We're just going to be this random digital agency that works with anybody. And yeah, we do inbound marketing, content, but like, come on, there's going to be thousands of those kinds of companies. But we said, hey, we have good success and good experience with this industry. We're very knowledgeable about it, deep family history, right? Let's just commit to that. And so when we said, we're going to create Builder Funnel and we're going to say no to everyone else, that was scary.
So I guess when I was phrasing that, I was thinking of the transition period where, because somebody can plant their flag like that, but maybe they don't have the cash reserves to get them through several months. You can cherry pick, but for you just chopped it and it was no immediately.
It was no immediately moving forward.
Yeah.
We maintained past, but obviously in a
you
project-based
fulfilled what you
business,
already sold and all that other stuff. Yeah.
But to your point, if you're like, hey, I just think that's not going to work.
Yeah.
I would still just ask the question. I guess the way I would just like caveat that is, are you so committed to kitchens and baths that you're actually saying we're renaming our company and all of our messaging and all of our content is just trying to attract kitchens and baths?
Yeah.
And sure, of course, you get that other project, you can say yes to it. But still, I would still encourage you when you get that addition project to say, am I taking this because I'm afraid that I can't fill? Because as soon as you take it, you're getting less efficient and less profitable and less fast at kitchens and bath. And that's what's going to make you different. And so when we look at the trades and, remodelers, and this has been I'm doing a deep dive in this area right now. And a lot of them just look the same.
Totally. They totally do.
And it's hard because, you do a good job. You high quality. You've been in business 20 years. Like, those are great pillars, but they aren't, from the outside looking in, what make you different. But if you're the Broadmoor Kitchens guy, like, sorry, that's just different enough than if they're like, wow, we talked to 3 kitchens companies, but we live in the Broadmoor, so we're going to go with Broadmoor Kitchens because that's all they do. And so, again, it's a continuum. I think you have to look at it as, where are you at your stage of the business? How committed are you? But if you really want to find something that's unique, I think one of the easier ways is by type of project and locale, because otherwise it's really hard to figure that out.
So I didn't plan on this, but let's dip into naming your business.
Okay.
Like, what, I guess there's 2 people, right? People that already have a business that has a name, and people that are starting a business and they need a name. Yeah. What do you say to each of them?
Yeah, the people that you don't have a name, I would say this is a beautiful time to just think through this. And it is that they're all tough. These are tough decisions because they're very long-term decisions. And so you have to look out. But if you haven't named your business, you're just getting up and running, you may not know what your best project is. Yeah. And so you're going to have to make your best guess. But again, I would argue maybe you're just like pretty good at all of them. Mm-hmm. I would probably study, like, what do I think? I mean, we're really going to get into a lot of variables here, but I'm going to, what are my personal goals? What are my company goals for the next 10 years? Let's say you're at 0 and you're like, I want to get to $10 million. And you might go, okay, well, in kitchens, if I just did kitchens, their average is going to be 100K. So, okay, 10 of those gets me to $1 million. I need to do 100 kitchens a year by the time I hit 10 million. But if I just focus on kitchens, I can get really fast. So I'm going to have really good profit margins. I might be able to push, 40, 50%, GP on kitchens. Now that's, I know you talk a lot about that in contracting, but in remodeling, the like holy grail, they're shooting for like 30 to 40. Really good ones push 45.
Those people got to listen to me, because we had Anthony in here a couple weeks ago. He's one of our coaches. He sold $1 million project at a 50% gross profit.
Great. I love
Remodeler. We have tons of them doing that.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, but I just go back, guys, and listen to Anthony's interview, because when you brand properly and you message and communicate properly, you separate from all those other guys. So anyway, I hijacked you there.
No, I love it. Yeah. Well, I talked to a remodeler down in Alabama. Net profit 40%. Net, not gross margin.
There you go. Yep.
So it's possible. Doable. Yeah. Yep. If one person can do it. But you get faster, so you're going to get more profitable. You actually get better because you do more of them. So your designs are going to be better.
Is easier.
Like all of it. And that's what we experienced, right? It was like when we just said no to everything else, it was like, we know the buttons to push when somebody comes on board. We know the common, oh, look over here, look over here. Oh, okay, great. Like, let's focus here first, then here. That stuff doesn't happen when you're just doing everything. You don't have enough depth of experience to process it. So if you're just starting out, I would encourage you to really think through it and say, could I build the type of business I want by just being super focused?
So, because it's funny, I'm sitting here going, all right, Tom Reber, I could go TR construction. A lot of guys do that, right? That doesn't say anything. I could do, you see things like cutting edge painting, quality construct. Those don't do anything for me. But that being said, not everyone can name it after the Broadmoor.
Right.
Or will they? Because they're not going to hear this. But so I just was thinking, like, if you're starting a company today, you might not have all the information. So you might just go, hey, I'm going to name it this, and I might have a rebrand in the future.
Exactly.
You could even just take it from that, right?
You totally can. Yeah, but I guess I would just encourage people to really think through it. Like, based on everything we've discussed, it's like, don't just throw that name up there. Just go, I think this will be good for 10 years. And if it's not, I'll pivot. But it at least would be a better starting point. There's companies like 7 Day Kitchens or
Mhm.
Bath Barn, or, so like it doesn't have to be a locale, but you can
Right.
still call out the project.
Yeah. So I had a painting company outside of Chicago, and sold my half of it. And in 2012, I guess it was, and I had a partner in that. We had a great relationship. It was awesome. My company before that was called Reber Custom Finishes. Okay. And whatever. And I named it that because my uncle, his painting company was Rogers Custom Finishes, and then it changed to Roy's Custom Finish. His name was Roy Rogers, believe it or not. So
Sense
anyway.
a pattern here.
And I just did what he did. Well, when I partnered with my old partner Bruce, I wanted it to be different and unique. And dude, this exploded us. We called it Jalapeno Paintworks.
Interesting.
Yeah, WERX. And so many people laughed at us, thought it was the stupidest thing in the world. You can imagine all the feedback we got. We spent 3, 4, 5 months nailing down the company identity because it had to look the part. And a lot of designers were making us look like restaurants, and we nailed it. A designer named Anna, she nailed it. She was awesome and did all of our stuff. Dude, that uniqueness in the name, because our tagline, we actually had a couple different taglines. Now, we were mainly based in Naperville, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
And so our first tagline was adding spice to your space.
I
Okay.
like it.
And the design community loved it. So we got tons of work from designers, no competition. And then as we evolved, it turned into Naperville's hottest painting company. We kind of had both those things going. So we'd have big billboards in town, and then our pepper guy was on there holding a paintbrush. You've got this goofy little spot. I had shirts where he was on there in a pair of Chucks, just kind of running and stuff like that. We had so much fun with it. That, and what we were communicating is that we were fun.
Yeah.
Right. And that was a big part of our values and all that other stuff. So I wanted to just share that for people to, that when you name it right, it doesn't have to be the Broadmoor. It doesn't have to be, whatever. But how you name it can send a message. And I would encourage people to be unique, get out of the quality painting and all that other shit, because everybody does that. It's the purple cow, right?
Yes.
Who names their company Jalapeno Paintworks? Nobody.
Yeah. One. Yeah. And
one.
so you stand out. Yeah, no, I love that. That's a great.
So I want to start bringing the plane home here. I'm not going to get to everything. That's okay. I think we've gone places I didn't think we were going to go, so I'm pretty fired up. There's this thing called AI.
There sure is.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
What does it stand for?
Yeah. Where's this fit from your perspective for contractors, brand, marketing, leads? Like, what are you scratching the surface of, or what's flopping, what's succeeding? I'm just curious. Thoughts?
Yeah. I guess broadly, I would say I view it as technology, just like this guy.
Yeah.
Google Ads, social media.
Yeah.
Like, it's technology. Obviously, it's very, very smart technology and
Right.
very, very advanced. So I think what we're seeing is it's just speeding up a lot of stuff, everything. And so, yes, in marketing, but I would say across the board, sales, call reviews, notes, there's so many areas that it can increase speed and efficiency.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the macro view that we're taking on it, is how can it help us be faster? And then the sub level is, can it help us be better? And I think the way it helps with better is that it's helping with faster. And so you have maybe more information that you can gather and pull faster, which allows you to be better.
Yeah.
And so, practical example, that would be writing a blog. Okay, cool. Go fetch me, information on this and this and this. And then, it just pulls it in seconds, versus you having to do a bunch of research and Google around. But then you might have access to all that instead of 20, 30 minutes of research. You get it in 20 seconds,
Yeah.
right? And then now you can continue on, and then you might do that again. And so over a course of like a 4-hour project, you might be able to condense that, to 30 to an hour or something like that. So the speed and then quality behind that, I think.
And
are the
then
big ones.
taking that and making it your own.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's some people that are like, write me a blog on how much a kitchen costs, and you don't want to just copy and paste that because we don't know how Google or whoever's going to penalize that and stuff in the long game, right? So,
there's too many unknowns that's too big a risk, but use it for speed and then take it from there.
Okay.
And tweak it, optimize it. Design, great. Give me 50 designs of this. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't like any of those, but like 3 were pretty good. So now I can just start with that. Well, now I've started with something that might have taken me 2 hours to get to here, but I can instantly look at 50 options of something, so I think that's where it's the combining, right? Human and technology. Feels like that's a general consensus out there. I don't think I'm saying anything crazy, but that's how we're thinking about it, is just,
I mostly use it for ideas.
Yeah, it's great for that.
And to your point about, cuts time down, because speed is king.
Yeah.
Right. So, and I know there's a lot of other things that are going to come about from this. So I was just curious. So, quality or quantity when it comes to creating content?
Creating content?
Yeah.
It's a good question. Maybe I'll share a personal example. So we mentioned, I think it was earlier on, how we both got into content early and did a bunch of stuff, and you go back and look at it and you're like, ugh, So the very first, so we kicked off the digital division, that transformation to TMR Direct from the mailroom in April of 2010. And then that summer, I was like, I'm going to do an educational series called Social Media Summer, where I do a video every day all summer with a little tip on how to use Twitter, Facebook.
Yeah.
Those videos are so bad. They're so bad. They're not just like, this is a little bit like cringy, or this is just like, they're so bad. But I did 90 of them. And they were all, I would say, terrible. They were all just terrible. But then I got a little better, and I got a little better, and I got a little better. And I don't think if I just like sat there and was like, let me create one social media video this summer that's going to be really good. I don't think it would have been good. I think it just would have been one bad one instead of 90. And so I think it is some of that, like reps, and if you think about anything you do, you get better the more you do it.
Well, it's like a golfer goes to the driving range, right? And you go, because every swing you're hopefully learning, so I think it's both. I think it's quality and quantity, right?
Yeah. And you
and you can't get the quality without the quantity.
Right. So, and I saw a good example. I think it was Tony Robbins talking about Steph Curry, but he talked about how many shots he shoots in practice, and then how many he's taken in games. And I think his in-game shots are like 1%, or it's just like a very low number of the amount of volume he takes in practice. And a slightly different answer to the question, but it was like he shoots like 500 shots a day. So whatever that is, tens of thousands a year, but he's only taken like, whatever it is, less than 10,000 shots in his career. But he's probably taken 50,000 in practice.
Yeah, whatever it is.
And it's kind of like you get rewarded for those, those ones that everyone sees. But then there's all this behind the scenes stuff. And so what I actually wish I did with those videos is just recorded them and not posted them. I don't
Are
care.
They still up?
You could find them.
Yeah,
go find them if you want. And, and I should pull them down because they're so bad, but whatever.
For those that are watching this on YouTube, if you filter my videos from oldest, I think the first video was Dakota, my son, and I. We hadn't even lived in Colorado yet. I was standing in front of a whiteboard. The lighting sucked. The audio sucked. I was a lot younger.
I've seen a couple of those, I think.
And it was a video on gross profit, and we left them up because I on purpose to show people, like, you can grow, you can get better.
It's like the bamboo of you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's every now and then I'm like, we got to take that down. But the team's on me going, no, leave it up. because it's part of the journey.
Yeah, it is.
And those still get views.
They still do.
It's evergreen, man. It's, maybe it's just people laughing at this point, but so what?
Compound content.
All right, man. So before we get out of here, what's on your mind? What do you want to say, share, something we didn't talk about, something you think might help somebody? I'm just curious.
Yeah, numbers are on my mind a lot right now, and I feel like just going deeper with numbers. I know you're a know your numbers guy, and that's critical across your business. But if we kind of hone in on the marketing and sales side, I mean, some things that we're looking at in our business: cost to acquire a customer, booking rate, show rate, stuff like this, and it's pretty incredible. I ran the numbers on one. And it was like, if you increase your show up rate, it was only like 5%. Like it would have added $120,000 or something, And so I guess what I would share with everyone is maybe take your numbers tracking to another level.
Yeah.
And so if you're looking at kind of your marketing and sales funnel, you might look at like number of leads generated to number of phone calls and kind of that pre-qualification stage to number of appointments, and that might be a basic, tracking funnel there. But if you start looking at what's my lead to booking rate, and then what's my book to first meeting rate, but then maybe you get a no-show or a reschedule, and you start looking at those and you go, how could I just improve that?
Yeah.
And that may not be the best use of your time, but you can look across your business and figure out like where that is. But let's just say that was the best. And you're like, wow, we get a lot of people drop off from here to here. Maybe we need more text reminders. Maybe we need a nice personalized video before this.
Yeah.
Like, what are 3 things we could test and see if we can get a lift on that conversion rate? That one lift might be 10% growth in your business over the next year. And so we've been going like a little deeper. I've always liked tracking stuff, but now we're trying to just keep going and going.
Do you have a favorite all-time marketing KPI?
That's a good question. A favorite all-time.
Because I love what you're saying there, and I have a thought on that too, of something that we did with somebody. But I'm just curious, like if you had one, if you're only allowed to have one,
can I make it a ratio?
You can do anything you want, man.
So this is a more recent favorite, and it's 2. It's really your cost to acquire versus your lifetime gross profit.
Oh, now you're just showing off, man. Okay.
It's newer to the ratio is newer to me, but it's now one of my new favorites. If you asked me to pick my favorite, because if it costs you $5,000 to acquire, and then you sell a $10,000 project and you got 50% gross margin, you're making $5,000.
Yeah.
But then if they come back and do more projects, you can kind of look at that. And so, but if you know that number and you go, gosh, I want to be able to get my cost to acquire, far lower than just that first project. So then any repeat projects are just pure profit on your gross margin. So I've been enjoying looking at that ratio and trying to figure out how to play with that a little more.
Do you count referrals in lifetime value? Do you know what I mean? Like if you hire me to paint your house, and then I paint your mother-in-law's house. I mean, you could, I wanted to create an app, or I can't, I'm not going to do this. So somebody could rip this off.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it, right? I don't care. I always thought how cool would it be to have a visual representation of the web of your first project, your first customer who referred you to this person. That person splintered off to this, and this was a builder that you did 75 homes for a year. And then one of those customers you were in to fix nail pops or whatever in the 1-year punch list, and they asked you to repaint the bedroom. And then now they become a repaint customer or whatever. But could you imagine what that would look like? Because we were doing, like I said, 300-400 projects a year painting. I can't imagine how big the screen would have to be.
Yeah, so big.
So in one sense, if every referral and project and referral off that referral would come as that would be your lifetime value if you were the first.
Yeah, and so I love that thinking about that. I think for tracking purposes, I wouldn't do it that way, even though I love that, because it is true, but I think the way I would break it is say, no, I'm just going to look at Mary and her lifetime value of projects, but then I'm going to look at referrals, and that's my cost to acquire, and it's basically zero to acquire those referrals.
True.
So then your ratio of cost to acquire to those is really, really good.
charts.
But then, there's probably things that you do to get referrals, like sending gifts or doing, customer appreciation. Well, those costs would be associated with referral business,
low.
but the ratio would be really strong. So I think that's how I would think about it.
So,
but yeah, that would be cool.
Can't
to
you
see.
picture that web though? Like, it would be nuts, man.
Yeah.
Because I can think of a couple people early on in my career. I can think of a couple even now in the contractor fight with
they're probably worth millions.
I mean,
or whatever.
thousands of people that we help a year in the fight, in our paid stuff. I can trace back to a couple individuals.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah.
And they're probably going to hit me up now and go, "Where's my commission?"
Yeah, exactly. Where's my check?
Well,
cut that out.
Yeah. Never speak of that again. Did you ever see Stripes?
Stripes.
The movie Stripes. You're too young, aren't
I
you?
don't
You
think
guys are all
so.
too young.
Yeah.
Captain's walking. He trips on something. He goes, "Have that removed." So anyway,
Yeah.
How about Spaceballs?
Yes.
All right. When Rick Moranis, they're watching the video, him flying into the thing, and he's like, never show that again.
Oh yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be funny and relatable here, and it ain't working.
I mean, but that is a great movie. I should go back and rewatch that one. It's been a minute.
She gives great helmet.
Yeah.
So. Logan, have you ever seen Spaceballs? All right, man.
Hey, you're hitting now. You picked
John
the right
Candy's
movie,
character. I'm a Mog, half man, half dog. I guess you could say I'm my own best friend. So, all right. I'm done, I promise. Well, dude, it's been great hanging.
Dude, thanks for having me.
If somebody wants to find you, they probably go to builderfunnel.com if I were a betting man.
Yep.
Where else do you want? What do you want them to do? Go there, somewhere else? What's up?
Builderfunnel.com, and then I would say I'll give you 2 channels. Like if you like YouTube, Builder Funnel on YouTube, we're doing a lot more there, and then podcast, Builder Funnel Radio.
All right.
Check those out.
Cool, man. We'll get links up to that stuff. I appreciate you being here, man.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
You got it. Guys, share the show. Rate, review. We'll see you next time.
All right, I'm driving now.
Uh-oh, look out.
All right, so I got 3 questions for you.
3, all right.
First one is, so you get to work with thousands of different companies.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of break up the business. You got marketing, you got sales, you got delivery.
Yeah.
Where's the most frequent problem? If you were to just index that whole, your audience, where do people struggle the most?
Between marketing, sales, and delivery.
Yeah.
Operations,
Yeah, everyone's closing enough business, but they can't find the talent, or it's they don't have enough leads, or they just suck at closing, or.
Hands down, I think it's marketing.
Really?
I do. Here's why. Because I think when you build a good brand, when you're highly visible, it obviously makes getting customers easier. You get less resistance in the sales process because you're an expert, right? Experts get paid more. And I think the other big thing is you start building a bench of employees and subs when you're more visible. So I think it helps the operations, it helps the sales when you really go all in and building your brand and marketing your company.
Sweet. Yeah. I don't know.
What did you think I was going to say?
I thought marketing had a good shot because I think it is an industry that just typically hasn't invested enough in that category. But I kind of thought sales had a shot too. So anyway, they're all common problems.
Listen, I could speak from my own personal experience. When leads were low, I was more desperate as a salesperson, and I'd do stupid things like sell things at a low price.
Yeah.
But when leads are plentiful, your balls are bigger, right? And you charge what you're worth. And it's just, you have more of that mindset of, and I don't mean this in a bad way to customers, but take it or leave it,
Totally.
Because I got 18 more to call back today.
Yeah. I'm back to back today.
Everything's easier, when you have leads.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. What's been the biggest unlock in your business in the last 6 to 12 months?
Wow. The biggest unlock, can I go a little more than 12 months?
Sure.
Like 14 months?
Yeah. I mean,
All right.
I am in the power seat, but I will
Yes.
allow it.
All right,
yeah.
man. Well, I would have to say the biggest unlock is when I stepped aside as the CEO, and Neil took the driver's wheel for the day to day. I create the vision. I'm good at building community and tribe and getting people to own their shit and kind of the buy-in, right? Like wanting to get better. With that, I create a lot of chaos too. And so I recognized early on, I knew early on that we were going to get to a point where I was going to not be the guy to run the day-to-day. And he has created so much order. We've got wrong people off the bus, right people on the bus. Earlier in our interview when we were in different seats, we talked about niching and some things like that. We've done some things with our programs where we've eliminated things, and that's caused a lot higher profits and sales and clarity. And so hands down, it's been Neil. And I'm the founder. I get to kind of float and ideate? Is that the word?
Mm-hmm.
And part of that's really helped in the last 3 months is we call it Michael Jordaning. Like if I say, Spencer, you got to Michael Jordan this, it means you take the ball and go do this.
Yeah.
This has allowed me to Michael Jordan our content. Our team was doing a great job, but there were certain things that I felt were getting stale. I was getting stale. And since I've said, give me the ball, I'm really, truly in the weeds. I'm doing like $20 an hour admin shit in the content right now for a time to really figure some things out at a deeper level and geek out on some of the data so that we can take our next massive leap. And that wouldn't have happened without Neil doing his thing.
I love it.
So
yeah. Delegating.
Yeah. Well, it's ownership.
Yeah.
I get delegating, but to me, I like to use the word ownership. Like if I delegate marketing to you, I want you to own it, the results, the ideas, the strategy. I don't want to have to think about it.
Yeah.
But,
that's cool. That's a good one. Yeah. Last question. I'm a big learner and reader.
Yeah.
So it can either be just top book recommendation or if you want to pick time frame last like 6 to 12 months. Most recent one.
Well, we are in February, right? Yeah. We're
so.
February. It's February 15th, 2024 at the time of this writing. In April of this year, Sell Unafraid is coming out, which is my next book. So that's my favorite book, and I think it's going to help a lot of people. I was talking to Neil yesterday about it. What did we say? We said, if you want to truly learn how to sell like a human being and not like a sleaze bucket salesperson, read the damn book. All right.
Sweet.
So anyway, other than that, just because we were talking about it earlier and it's on the desk, I think Giftology by John Ruhlin is phenomenal. And I'll read the little subtitle: The Art and Science of Using Gifts to Cut Through the Noise, Increase Referrals, and Strengthen Client Retention. I think every business wants to do that. And this came up because of somebody gifting me a few things. And I told you those stories before we hit record earlier. And every time I use, a certain thing, I think of that company, I think of that person. And we spend so much time trying. Good marketing is you stand out and you don't look like everybody else. And so I think this is it's an area that I think we need to get better in as a company. I've read the book, listened to the guy on several podcasts and stuff. So I think just because it's fresh on my mind and it's about differentiating.
Cool. Well, Tom, I appreciate you coming into the studio. It's been great. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate you having me. It's the fastest podcast ever.